Okay, this is gonna be a quick review since this phone is a rather peculiar one. It's the OPPO Reno11 F, which is a more budget-friendly version of the OPPO Reno11 5G, but in a rather good way, I would say. So let's get into it. Firstly, we'll talk about the design of this phone first. The OPPO Reno11 F looks and feels okay, I would say. It does feel kind of plasticky, and especially this back panel, it just doesn't feel that good to touch. It is also available in a total of 3 colors: ocean blue, coral purple, and the one we have here is the palm green color. Honestly speaking, I think the phone looks alright with this color, except for the camera bump, which is excessively huge and it can be shrunken down in size by about like 50% at least. And that is because this phone has 3 cameras and they could have all been just placed so much closer together. Actually, the third camera here isn't particularly that useful anyway, since it's a 2 megapixel macro camera. Yeah, it's not gonna take good macro pictures because the result is as shown on the screen here, so yeah. But that main camera though, it does take good pictures. The colors and clarity of daylight shots are great, and I'm glad. Night shots are a bit more hazy, but on social media, I think it's just gonna be perfectly fine. Then comes the ultra-wide angle camera. Yeah, it's definitely not gonna look as good. But then again, I'd argue that these kind of pictures are gonna be great for social media. Even night shots will be okay as well. Most of the time, that is. This kind of shots isn't gonna be that good to be shown anywhere, so do manage your expectations when it comes to the night mode for the ultra-wide angle camera. Now, as for the screen, this phone has the same 6.7-inch OLED screen with the same resolution of 2412 by 1080 pixels and can also go up to 120Hz refresh rate when compared to the OPPO Reno11 5G. In terms of color accuracy, it can also achieve 100% of sRGB and 98.63% of DCI-P3 color gamuts, and it can also go all the way up to 900 nits of maximum brightness. With all things considered, this is a very good screen for this kind of price range. The performance of this phone is also pretty good as it is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 7050. I mean, it's a low-powered chip and this phone just wouldn't thermal throttle at all, as in this chip just doesn't produce enough heat to actually thermal throttle. We can play Genshin Impact on it and the experience, I'd say, is pretty okay. Again, I would just say do manage your expectations as the game will lag in some areas, but overall I would still consider it to be very playable, and that is magnificent coming from a low-powered chip like this. As for the software side of things, this is pretty simple and I'm gonna skip pretty much most of the parts since it's gonna be the same with any other OPPO phones within the Reno series. So check out our review of the OPPO Reno11 Pro Plus 5G instead. I'll link you at the top right corner there or down in the description below. As a really quick recap, ColorOS is actually quite a good skin for phones. There are lots of features like the shelf, but it also has a lot of weird design decisions like double pressing the power button to bring up Find Easy that I just won't use at all. I cannot even remap this double tapping of the power button into launching Google Pay, so yeah, that feature is completely wasted in my opinion. And then there's also the usual slew of bloatware like hot games, hot apps, and all of those stuff. It's just typical OPPO kind of bloatware. As for the battery life, this phone does come with a 5000 mAh battery and it can last for more than 15 hours in our battery life test, which is not a surprise given that the Dimensity 7050 is a low-powered chip anyway. Now, the charging speed though, it does come with a 67-watt Super VOOC charger in the box and it can charge the phone from 15% to completion in about 40-ish minutes, which is really good actually. And a few more things to mention before we end this review. This phone does use a USB 2.0 port at the bottom and it cannot output video over its USB-C port, but it does have a hybrid microSD card slot. Unfortunately, there is no audio jack, which is rather disappointing in my opinion, but that's pretty common in phone nowadays anyway. And now, you might have realized that I'm pretty much speedrunning the entire review of this OPPO Reno11 F. It's not because I think this phone is uninteresting, but because this phone in itself is pretty simple, I would say. For just 1,399 ringgit, you can buy the OPPO Reno11 F. When we compare this phone with OPPO's very own Reno11 5G, then this phone is a few hundred ringgits cheaper, and the main differences are mostly within the camera aspect. But both of these phones have the same screen, same chipset, and have the same battery capacity with the same fast charging charger included in the box as well. Immediately, the OPPO Reno11 F just becomes a very good choice. And that's why I think the OPPO Reno11 F is actually a very good deal, a very competitive price point in that matter. And if you're looking for a low to mid-range kind of smartphone, then do consider the OPPO Reno11 F. I am pretty much surprised by what this phone has to offer. And that's it. That's all that we have to share with you in today's review. So if you have any questions regarding this phone, do leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll try to help you out whenever I can. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah, thanks for that, Moto.